he accepts. The God of crucifixion demands that he crucify and his worshipers obey. In his name, they crucify themselves, believing that the power of the Son of God is born of sacrifice and pain. The God of resurrection demands nothing, for he does not will to take away. He does not require obedience, for obedience implies submission. He would only have you learn from your will and follow it, not in the spirit of sacrifice and submission, but in the gladness of freedom.
All right, so
what I'm catching out of this is the most important part of the end of Jesus' life on earth was the resurrection, not necessarily the crucifixion. And I always going to the schools I went to and stuff, and the religion that I was brought up in, I could never understand why they all they talked about was suffering. That was the only way you were going to get anywhere spiritually, was suffering. And before when I got out of high school, I never went back to the Catholic Church or Mass or anything like that. And for people that like it, that's fine. But years and years later, probably 6 or 7 months ago, before the quarantine, there was a meeting I went to that was in the sanctuary of the local Catholic Church. And before the meeting started, I started looking around the church, and I thought, what would I change about the church to attract more people? And I noticed that they had a big crucifix with Jesus suffering behind the altar. They had the Stations of the Cross all around the whole church, which was more suffering.
You got a speaker?
That had to do with the crucifixion.
I was wondering if you have a speaker that can connect.
And I noticed that the pews were very uncomfortable.
That's fine.
It was another form of suffering. And at least they were for
We can hear you all.
And I thought to myself, if I had this church, I would have probably not a picture of the crucifixion back there, but a picture of the resurrection, or something that had to do with the resurrection. I definitely wouldn't have all of the Stations of the Cross around the outside of the church, and I wouldn't be preaching from the pulpit what I heard years ago, which was, you got to suffer like Jesus did, or you're not getting to heaven. And well, at that point in time, I was not willing to suffer like that, that's for sure. So this is what I got out of this. The resurrection is freedom. Rejoice, happy. It proves to me that we are of spirit, because this is for everyone, not just Jesus. And that's what the whole crucifixion and resurrection, the resurrection is the part that to me is important.
It's interesting because suffer is an interesting word, because it has dual meaning. Because Jesus said, suffer the little children to come unto me, and that meant allow. And my thought has been, what if, even in other places where they talk about suffering, if it could possibly mean allowing us to move through the challenges without struggle and move into our empowerment. That's something I made up from what I understood about all the meanings of suffering. But that came to me. What if suffering is really allowing us to move through our challenges into the perfect wholeness, the perfect healing. So anyway, that's a Sheilaism.
We're having some technical difficulties.
Technical difficult, yes.
Sorry about that. We're working through it. We're working through this. So I apologize.
Reverend Sheila, I like what you just said.
Thank you.
And I can see that. I grew up with the scripture that talks about the fruitage of the Spirit. And the way I learned it, one of the fruitage of the Spirit is long suffering. And that's like a paradox, because you would think, well, would suffering be part of the Spirit? But it's allowing. It's just allowing. It's like, okay. Yeah. So.
I knew my girl here would get it. She gets me.
All right, so anybody else have any other interpretations?
Is it suffering really is the very act of resisting what is? Right? What's happening by not allowing, right? Like you said, that's what causes suffering is our resistance.
Absolutely.
That's what suffering is. Resistance to whatever is.
Exactly.
If it weren't, I don't like to be a proponent of suffering, but if it weren't for suffering, I would have never been on the spiritual path I'm on right now.
Whole lot of people.
Well, that's what they say. The light is through the wounds, correct?
Mm-hmm.
If the wound is not there. If I may say something about the paragraph number 5.2. For he places himself at the altar of his God, whether it be the God he made or the God who created him. So to me, that basically shows that's the indication of the free will. So whatever he chooses that's the direction he's going. So he's gonna worship, but then who he's going to worship is whether or not he worships the God he created or the God that made him. So I thought that was interesting, that no matter what, we are going to worship something. Like we all are, whether or not we know it, we all are worshiping something. And so it's for us to make that better choice, for lack of words, but to make the choice that is, we're not creating gods that we're worshiping.
Doesn't that kind of say something about what causes us to suffer? Because we can choose the God we want to serve, and through one of them we will surrender and find our way to the light right away, and through the other we'll suffer.
So that is an indication of suffering. So if that is happening, that's like a spiritual sign there. That one, the one that we accept, or the one that we create, or the one that we place, or the one that, so it's basically when the suffering is showing up, it kind of could be an effect for us to know what the cause is, because we are worshiping something that we created.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got distracted a little bit. My husband was just standing in front of me, like I'm talking, and he's telling me, "Could you mute? I need to talk to you." So sorry, I got a little bit distracted.
Yeah, I like that first sentence where it says, "Do not underestimate the power of the devotion of God's Son, nor the power the God he worships has over him." And to me, that's talking about we can believe whatever we want.
Mm-hmm.
We can believe something that's not true, and it'll be just as powerful as if we believed that it was true. And I, there's a part in the course I was going to read real quick where it says, "Belief is powerful indeed. The thoughts you hold are mighty, and illusions are as strong in their effects as is the truth. A madman thinks the world he sees is real and does not doubt it." And that's what that reminds me of. We could believe truth or we could believe falsity, and the power of our belief is just as strong, whatever way we go with it.
Well, yeah, because we were made in the image and likeness of God. So we were given free will and the power to create that which brings us joy and peace and, fulfillment in the kingdom of heaven, or we can create that which brings us pain and suffering and hell. That's free will.
Yep.
It's not so free, but
I always used to say about myself, I was like a car with a very strong engine, but a bad steering wheel.
I like that. Yeah, that's a goodie. I'm going to remember that.
And everything that we experience, we're going to experience either dissonance if we are not in alignment. We're going to experience a dissonance, or we're going to experience peace and joy. So it's really just two different dynamics, to be honest with you. And so the dissonance comes when we have different ideas about ourselves or different ideas about other people and things like that. And that's what causes the dissonance. So that's what causes the dissonance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is there any other part of paragraph 5 before we move on?
I think we chewed it up pretty good.
Okay.
I would say there's probably one more thing. I'm not sure if anybody talked about it or not, but what stood up here to me is that, Jesus is saying we obey the other God, the God that we made, because we think through suffering and sacrifice, we're going to gain something good.
Yeah.
And, but the God that made us is only going to give us what we want and what we are, and does not require that we obey him, because he wants us to know about our own will, which is the same will that he has. But so he wants us to get to know ourselves, our will. But the other God, the God that we made, wants us to suffer, and is trying to tell us, if you suffer, you will gain, good stuff.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to choose.
Absolutely, people. It is definitely up to us to choose. And when we find that we're not accepting like God is, because we are God. So when we find that we're not in alignment with our divine nature, which is basically unconditional acceptance, and also, and with unconditional acceptance, we allow for the other to express unconditional freedom. It doesn't mean that, and sometimes when that's interpreted with the ego, some people, when it's interpreted with the thought system of the ego. So what does that mean? So that somebody can just do anything, you're not supposed to do anything about it and things like that. So, the ego will always attempt to, find its own way of seeing things. And, from that standpoint, I would say, no, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, what I am saying is that when I have a problem with the way someone is, when I have a problem with how someone is expressing themselves, when I have a problem with someone expressing their truth, and I'm just upset because their truth is not in alignment with my own, then there it is. That's my problem, and I'm experiencing that dissonance because I'm not accepting them for exactly who they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
that's true.
all right. So who's next? Let's see. I know Moj was on, and it was Moj, and it was, I believe it was Moj and Zeba who were next. Which one was on first? Was it Moj or Moj?
I think I was late.
Okay. Moj, do you feel like reading?
Yeah, it was one of the Persian gals are next. You know.
You mean damn foreigners?
Those darn foreigners with their accents.
You always come with company to the party, Moj.
Yeah, we gotta mute Stephen's computer because Claudia, I think Stephen went to another room, but you're in the same room, so it echoes. The computer he left.
Put that on mute. You should be able to mute it from your own workstation, Claudia.
Should I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll mute it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The resurrection must compel your allegiance gladly because it is the symbol of joy. Its whole compelling power lies in the fact that it represents what you want to be. The freedom to leave behind everything that hurts you and humbles you and frightens you cannot be thrust upon you, but it can be offered you through the grace of God. And you can accept it by his grace, for God is gracious to his Son, accepting him without question as his own. Who then is your own? The Father has given you all that is his, and he himself is yours with them. Guard them in their resurrection, for otherwise you will not awake in God, safely surrounded by what is forever yours forever.
So, Mose, what do you think about that?
Well, what I think is that it's two things from what I just read it. One is that the resurrection is the gift that we want, and it's like being okay with death because on the other side is the resurrection, and that's where where the next step is. And by death, it could be the actual death or the death of ego, or the death of the mindset that doesn't serve us, or the death of grievances. So the first part, I saw it as the way that that resurrection gives us that freedom to let go of all the things that didn't serve us so we can be anew. And of course, those are not being forced on us. It's more of our choice of accepting and surrendering or surrendering to. And by surrendering and rendering to that resurrection, we will also reveal the God that is within us. So not only we get the atonement or the freedom, but we also get full-on access to what that is already within us. So it's a whole bunch of good stuff. I also wanted to, I don't know if I have that quote handy, but I saw something this morning that it was a quote from David White. I don't know if you guys know him. And the quote is like, no one ever survives a truly good conversation. And I thought that was really cool. Nobody truly survives a truly good conversation. And to me, it came that when you have a truly good conversation, parts of you dies. Parts of you that do not serve you, part of you that is, again, the grievances or the ego, or you let go of crap. So basically, dying is a good thing in all those senses that it kind of, I like to play with expressions. So the expression says, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. I play with what kills you make you stronger. And so the resurrection is basically what killed you made you stronger.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that's very very deep. I have to contemplate. I have to, meditate on that. Thank you, Moj.
It makes a lot of sense, though. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It's very astute, Moj.
What does that mean?
Sharp, brilliant.
Yeah.
See, I'm not that sharp.
Because when you are connecting with someone like in a good conversation, there's a connection going on, but there's almost like there's an at-one-ment happening, even, like there's just truly a connection with this person. I mean, we've all experienced it before, and it's something that's very powerful, and it's almost as if the two of you are joined. You're joined, on a very deep spiritual level. So I just never looked at it from a standpoint of dying. So like I said, I have to meditate on that a little bit. But when I get things like that, I just like, okay, well, I'll take that into meditation too. So it's like every day, it's like I take a lot of things into meditation. So yeah.
And if you think about it that way, that when you're in that kind of a conversation, you get so immersed that you forget a lot of things that were not serving you. Like you forget your troubles, you forget your grievances, you forget how something was bothering you just 5 minutes ago. And those are all the death of those things. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's what happens when Stephen and I have our time together.
Yeah. In your conversation,
we get
those things
survive.
Those were part of you. You were identified by those things, I was identified by those things. So because of that conversation, during that conversation at least, the little I who was me before, they kind of died.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, that separation consciousness, is kind of relinquished a little bit, or at least definitely with that person. So yeah, a lot of stuff to take into meditation.
And what I was getting ready to say was, you and I, Stephen, have that a lot. Whenever we have our little time where it's just us and we're talking, and time stands still. We are totally unaware of what time it is, where we are. There is nothing in existence except the energy passing back and forth between the two of us in the form of conversation.
Yep.
And it's like, right? And it's like we,
and it's like a little beach ball. And it's like, it's like, we're don't tossing the beach ball to each other and like, turning it over and, putting our own thoughts and things into it. And it's like, hey, what do you think about that? And just kind of we're playing catch with each other. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's really surreal because it doesn't feel like you're in the place where you're having the conversation. And that it's like we're somewhere else when we get together and talk. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anybody else for paragraph 6? There's still a lot on here, you guys. Whole lot here. I know you want to say something, Bill. Go ahead, man.
What are you taking up being a psychic now too, Stephen? Is that going to be your sideline besides a unity minister? You're going to be But no, I was I like what we're sharing here, but there's a neat section in the back of the manual for teachers under it's titled "What is the Resurrection?" and it basically says it's a reawakening or a rebirth, a change of mind about the meaning of the world, and it's like, I think, when it talks like about crucifixion and resurrection, it's not talking about the literal event that like happened 2,000 years ago. It's symbolizing a thing that goes on in us, like even like what Moj was saying, as those pieces of us die, they're being crucified, they're dying. The false sense of self that is not true dies, and then there's a resurrection, a remembering, or it helps us to remember who we are. Mm-hmm. And that's the resurrection. We have forgot, and then resurrection is kind of remembering, But I was going to share something here that I back to what we were talking about with suffering, what goes on, about that and all. There's a really, I read this a few weeks ago and it really stuck with me. I never quite thought of it this way. I never remembered this in the course, but it says, it's talking about like limitations here, and it says, do not despair then because of limitations. It is your function to escape from them, but not to be without them. If you would be heard by those who suffer, you must speak their language. If you would be a savior, you must understand what needs to be escaped. So if we see suffering that we may have gone through in this light, how can we help a person who's suffering if we don't know what it's like?
Absolutely.
And this is like in the teacher's manual, teachers of God, and how can I help somebody get out of the woods if I haven't been in the woods?
Exactly.
And when you see that, you can say, wow, that's pretty wise, of a plan, for those of us. And we only hear the word suffering and automatically judge, this is bad. That's our judgment, and we don't really know. Bad, that's bad. This is bad, and we don't know the things that we might experience through this life, because we only usually interpret it from a very limited perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And what that's saying there is, you could be being groomed you're being groomed for a service that this is going to help you to be of service, in that way. It's just like school, and the day will come when you're there helping somebody, and you'll know exactly what to say and what to do because you've been in those woods before, and I mean, how can somebody help me get out of the woods and the jungle who's never been in the woods or the jungle? You know, so I don't know. It just kind of, I just thought I'd throw that in there because it puts a different perspective on suffering rather than judging every, you know, I've had my share in my life and I could see the perfection in all of it. Like it wasn't what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was a divine plan taking place the whole time, you know, and I don't know, it just gives me a different, when I realized nothing has ever gone wrong.
Absolutely.
None of it. I interpreted it at the time as something going wrong, but it was all in the perfection of art to, so that I may be who I am right now.
Absolutely. 100%. You know, when I was growing up, thank you so much, Bill. Thank you for that. I'm gonna add to that. When I was growing up, I was exposed to so many things spiritually. I was exposed to, you know, I grew up in Unity, as many of you knew, since you know, like, you know, going like 6 years old, but I was also exposed to Hinduism and Buddhism, and I mean, I learned from Guru Mai Chivlanasananda, who's a world-renowned guru, you know. But at the same time, as a, you know, between 7 and 9, and older, I didn't appreciate all of those things because I was focused on the fact that my father wasn't in my life at that time, and so even though I was, you know, learning chant and meditating and things like that and going through all of these different things preparing me for, you know, what I'm stepping into now, I didn't see those things perceptually, so I created a dissonance as a kid, you know, which, you know, went on into my adult years, and then, you know, I had to go through forgiveness, and, you know, and then as I began to forgive and release it, then everything that I was experiencing before began to then dissipate. It then began to transmute itself. And once it did, then I was able to see that I was, at that time, I wasn't supposed to be, you know, my father wasn't supposed to be an active figure in my life. I was supposed to be, you know, in that environment afforded by my mother. And so then it all started coming to me. It all started coming to me. Then also I started going back to the chants and everything. And the next thing you know, it was like all of those gifts then began to come to me into consciousness of all these different things that I experienced all the way from like 7 years old, you know, all the way into like my early teens. And, you know, Mama Murphy, who was a Unity minister, telling me that, you know, she had said I was going to be a Unity minister one day, and I was like, not me. But it all started to come to me at that point, you know, once I was able to see that my life was really perfect. It was perfect. It was a perfect training ground. I went through the perfect set of experience. I had the perfect curriculum to prepare me. I didn't see it at the time. That's exactly what you're talking about. So I'm so grateful, Bill, that you shared that, because we create our own dissonances. We do. We do.
That is.
I like that quote from Shakespeare that says, "Nothing is neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so."
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bad, something really bad if we judged it and we deemed it bad.
Mm-hmm.
Course tells us everything's perfect. You just don't see it sometimes.
You just see it. There it is. You just see it.
That's true.
If I may share something, a few years back, maybe it was 15, 16, 17 years ago, I was doing more of my yoga training. And one of the weekends we had, it was very, very brutal. It was a lot of asanas and a lot of teaching. So both, you know, mentally, spiritually, physically, it was very tiring and very, very draining. And by the end of the last day, I went to talk to my teacher at a time, and I just broke down into tears. For me was that I felt I was there. I'm not, genetically, I'm not a very flexible person. And I was in this space with maybe 300 other people, and they all looked younger than me. I had 2 kids at a time. They all looked like, they're out of high school or out of college, and they're all like ballerinas and gymnasts and flexible. They can wrap their foot like twice around their heads. And here, I'm working on developing flexibility into getting to poses. I have to warm up. I have to do things before I can even get close to something. And so I went to my teacher and I told him that I don't think this is the right thing for me here to be a yoga teacher, instructor, or whatnot. And I don't think this is the right training for me, and I'm in the right place. And he looked into my eyes and he said, we need more teachers like you, because these people have no clue what it takes for you to fold over and touch the floor with your hands, because they don't understand. If a student comes to them and say, I can't touch the floor, they would be like, what are you talking about? Just bend over and touch the floor, big deal. And he said that the process that you go through to gain the process to kind of open up and to make things happen, that's going to create more compassion for your students as they walk in. So and then he also told me, as long as you can affect one person in your class, you've done your job. Just one person. You don't have to, save the whole world. Just one person. So I thought that was, I kind of felt this was appropriate time to share that it is that when we do have, it's not like natural to us, but we work for it, we actually become better teachers because we know what it takes, and we are more sensitive and have more compassion toward people who also need to work on things to get there.
Thank you, Mose. Absolutely. And whoever that teacher was, I mean, that was very profound for them to reframe it for you, so to get you to appreciate, how you were struggling, and how that would actually, be one of your greatest strengths as far as creating compassion within you. Absolutely. I'm loving that. Thank you, Mose. Anybody else? Oh, but I tell you what, that Mose is something else, boy. So she's like, it's about time for that break. So, it's a couple of minutes ahead of time on my thing, but we might as well go ahead and take it. So let's go ahead and take an 8-minute break, rest break, coffee break, water break, snack break, whatever kind of break you want to call it. But we'll be back in 8 minutes.
Okay.
So, Bill, what's been going on with you, man?
Well, you know what they say, like everything changed and nothing changed. So, you know, it's just enjoying, man. You know, this kind of isolation thing or this that we're going through here has been really a blessing, man. It's like been a 4-month retreat for me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and just a lot of time to just be, you know.
Yeah.
And it's been good. It's been I've been renewing my relationship with a non-duality teacher that's always been important to me, Rupert Spira. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but it's more of Eastern type approach,
Okay.
but using something about him. I found him a few years ago, and he I was doing a course for about 8 years at that time, and something about his way of teaching. He's not even a course person, but he did something in me that I understood what the course was saying, like that, you know, with the way he his way of teaching. So I've been reacquainting with him and just you know what, following my guidance. It's not like he's the guide, but my guidance just taking me wherever it needs to go, you know. And there's a Unity minister from Key West I always liked, and he always says, just learn how to listen to your guidance. You never have to make another decision.
That's true. Absolutely. Yeah, I did. You know what? I really appreciate how you share so many aspects of your journey throughout when we have our Course in Miracle meeting. So, you know, I can really appreciate that. I love hearing people share about their journeys, and you definitely do that. So I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate
But you haven't heard half of it.
that.
I'm gonna wait till y'all get to know me better before I tell you the whole story.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, good deal. Good deal. So, you know, I'm grateful that you've been helping Mark. You know, that's a beautiful thing, you know. And he's always saying how, you know, how much he learns, you know, about A Course in Miracles because of his association with you. So that's a beautiful thing.
You know, I have a teacher used to say, or that, you know, you don't have to know everything, but if you know one more thing than the other person, it seems like that to them. You know, there's one thing we all know, though, is love, man. We all know love because that's what we are, you know. That's all we ever really share, man. Words are just a bunch of sounds that come out of our mouth. Something comes out of our heart that's really communicated, I think.
You're right.
Sheila said something before that lit me up, talking about when you're sharing like that, and Bill and I have occasion to do that, you lose track of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not really where you're at. You're in that conversation. And for me, it lifts me up. And it's freeing, put it that way.
Yeah.
What better teacher? You know, what better teacher could I have? It's all part of the plan.
All part of the plan. All part of the plan. Well, looks like it's about that time to return. Matter of fact, we kind of went over a little bit.
I think Bob missed the 8-minute break.
I don't know what my dad's doing, but you know, it is what it is. I don't know what he's doing right now. I have no idea.
It's Robert. Like, yeah, it's cool.
He'll come around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So, are we still wanting to discuss paragraph 6, or are we ready to move on?
No, let's move on, please.
All right, everybody okay with that? Everybody okay with moving on? All right, okay. Let's see. I believe Zebra, weren't you next now?
Yeah, I think it was Zebra.
Zebra, are you there?
I'm not sure, but if you want me to read, I can read it.
Yeah, I believe it's you, and then I think it was Bill maybe. I didn't really get a chance to really see everybody as they came on. Usually that's like pilot that takes care of that.
It was
I don't know
Deb.
pilot because she had car troubles. So.
What did you say, Mark?
It was Deb, and
It was Deb?
yeah, it was Deb after Zeba, and then I think Krista.
Oh,
Okay.
after me? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So Zeba.
I roll in last. I pull in the rear. I come in last. Always. Wait, I clock the time. I'm like, I'm gonna be the last one.
You're reading sweet.
I guess.
I'll read number 7. I'll read number 7 if that's what we're looking for, a reader.
You're going to be the honorary Persian, always late.
Oh, listen.
Fashionably late, yeah.
Is that what the Persians do? I'm not Persian, but I am of a certain ethnicity.
So Stephen, what you do is one of these times, since she's going to be last, so she doesn't have to read, what you can do is start from the back. Okay, who was the last person?
Last person first. Right.
And that's in the Bible, and the last will be first, and the first will be last. Hey.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
You guys ready? You ready?
Yeah.
All right, number 7. You will not find peace until you have removed the nails from the hands of God's Son and taken the last thorn from his forehead. The love of God surrounds his Son, whom the God of crucifixion condemns. Teach not that I died in vain. Teach rather that I did not die, by demonstrating that I live in you. For the undoing of the crucifixion of God's Son is the work of the redemption, in which everyone has a part of equal value. God does not judge his guiltless Son. Having given himself to God, how could it be otherwise?
So, Krista, God judged his guiltless Son. So,
Right.
what do you get from all that?
Let me tell you, I'm challenged because I think I have all sorts of spiritual training and learning and conditioning outside of this, A Course in Miracles. So to kind of fit all that into this, it's always a bit of a challenge because I think I'm at the end, like, we're all God, let's move on. But we're taking this sentence by sentence, verb by verb, line by line. So with that being said, I don't think much of this, with love I say that, I think it's awesome because every paragraph that we read gets us closest to the realization how divine we are. So I just think we take a long time getting there. That's what I got.
Okay. All right. Sounds good to me. And you're right.
Yeah.
We do as humanity, it may seem in time and space that we're taking forever to get there. It's like we got pandemics of unworthy race and consciousness, and looking at situations that happen in the world, like if it doesn't affect us personally, then there's an apathy where we just really don't care unless it happens right in our backyard. Then all of a sudden, now we care now and stuff like that. So yeah, and maybe it does seem like taking a forever to get there. And of course, the Miracle says it's all like a blink. It's all a blink. And this is really just a review, Chris. We're just reviewing this and, just going through a review process. That's, what do you think about that?
I do. I mean, I totally agree. I think that each moment, I actually want to make reference to something that your mom said in the prayer. It's like she asked it was something along the lines of, ask one question. And I was thinking, I didn't have a question. I had more like a request or a command. And just that, yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. I forget this recorded. This is recorded and this goes on YouTube. So I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm gonna drop that microphone and put myself on mute. Listen, I tell you something,
You're
Stephen.
gonna drop the mic.
It is so dropped. You can't find me. I got about 10 addresses associated with my name, and I'm not ashamed of that. I do love my anonymity, and this right now is huge. It's a big exposure. I got the camera up, like you see my avatar with my head all conformed. Like I just love my anonymity. You didn't ask for that, but that's what comes with me reading number 7. So I'm done now.
Got it. Hey, I appreciate that.
So I'm curious. See, now you got me curious as to why you like your anonymity. See,
my privacy was violated at one point in time.
Coach. You what?
Yeah, my privacy was violated at one point in time.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you haven't healed that, huh?
No, we're all on YouTube now. We know I haven't healed it. We're all on the YouTube. Hi, YouTube family.
You know something? That is so funny. That's so funny, Krista, because I remember when I first started reading the Course in Miracles, and then my mom was like, "Okay, so I think you're ready now to start a group." And I was like, whoa, slow down. So you move fast. You move too fast. And so we did that. And then next thing you know, I'm starting to interpret Course in Miracles. And so then Claudia's like, I think that, you should go ahead and start a Facebook page and a YouTube thing. And I was like, private. I was like, no. And under my name too? I don't think so. And so, I found that and now I just take to it like a fish to water now. But I mean, at first, when I was first doing it, I know exactly what you're talking about. Talking about.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But I think the text is beautiful. I come every week for something. And even if it's not something that I read here, it's something that Mark might say, or Bill might say, or Moj, or Deb, or Reverend Sheila, or Ziba, or Bob with no audio going on. But it's something. I come back each week for something.
Right.
Either that or the clubs are closed. One or the other. I'm kidding. I'm done talking. I'm done.
No, you come back. You come back because we're so cute.
You guys are amazingly gorgeous. Yeah, amazingly gorgeous. Yeah. I'm done. I'm done. But thank you for allowing me to share.
Of course. Thank you, Krista. So going out to the group, anybody want to give their spin on paragraph 7?
I just come back because there's a national lockdown and I can't go anywhere else.
There you go. Hey, there it is. The truth shall set you free.
I hear you, bro. I hear you.
Yep.
I've never spent this much time at home.
I have to say something about that.
Please.
Because it's very rare for me to only see one person in 4 weeks in person. That was my mom. And I'm like, something is wrong about this. Because I used to see people all the time. And it's not like we don't want to see each other or we can't see each other. We're just kind of gotten to the place where we're just kind of like, we're okay. And I'm like, no, there's something wrong with that. Yeah. We want to see each other, but it's now getting to a point where, okay, this is what it is. Okay, I'm gonna be quiet now.
I appreciate it, Debbie. And you know what I've noticed? I've noticed that there's a greater appreciation for connectivity with others. Like when I'm walking my dogs, people will come out of their homes like they're breaking their neck to come talk to me and stuff. Say, hey, how's it going? And everything. I'm like, wow, before pre-COVID-19, I didn't even know these neighbors, half these neighbors and stuff. And so, now it's like, people are stopping their cars and talking to me. And I'm just like, at first I was kind of feeling kind of weird. Like, okay, I'm trying to walk my dogs and you're just pulling up to me and talking to me. It felt kind of weird, but I rolled with it and I'm talking back to them and stuff like that. So yeah, people are desiring that connection now. So I think there's a greater appreciation that we were taking for granted pre-COVID-19. One thing, I think that had something to do, I don't know how much, but that had something to do with the outrage over the George Floyd situation. There was a greater, because pre-COVID-19, you know, Black people were dying by the police all the time, and I didn't see anything like that. Okay. It was just like, well, yeah, okay, that's horrible, you know, and everything, but you know, I gotta go to work, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And so those situations seemed like they would just, you know, go away, you know? And so, but I've never seen anything like the George Floyd, how the across the world. And I'm not going to think that that's not somehow intrinsically linked to what we've been experiencing post-COVID-19, and there being a greater appreciation for human life, a greater appreciation for things in our solitude. Like, we've been in timeout now. We're in timeout, you know, and so we're starting to get it. You know, we're starting to get, you know, that, you know, something, our brothers and sisters are valuable, are precious, are, you know what I mean? And so we're starting to realize that. So that's why we're starting to see some of these things that we never saw before. So yeah, we still got a whole lot of stuff, whole lot of healing as a society to do. But you know something, I've seen some things though. I've seen some glimmers of hope.
Yeah.
You know, as far as my brothers and sisters, I really have.
Absolutely. Yeah, so have I. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, you know, our lives are purposeful and have meaning. We are not victims of random acts of good luck or bad luck, or being in the right place at the right time or the wrong place or the wrong time. Our lives are purposeful and have meaning. So there is a purpose and meaning for all of this that's going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, are we ready to move on some more? Or, you know, does somebody want paragraph 7 some more?
I want to say something here about number 5, which says, for the undoing of the crucifixion of God's Son is the work of the redemption, in which everyone has a part of equal value. And the whole paragraph, I think, is talking about the undoing of crucifixion and how we do it. And it was actually sort of new to me, you know, and the whole idea of redemption. And I would think, you know, the same as resurrection, we need to do this for others, for our brothers and sisters, so that we can do the redemption part. And if we don't do that, we cannot actually find peace.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I believe that the George Floyd situation happened for that reason, to begin the undoing of the crucifixion, because that was a form of crucifixion, and is the first, other than Jesus, is the first crucifixion that has created worldwide reaction, like Stephen was talking about. And so I think that his soul made that contract to demonstrate that, so that we could move forward in a worldwide, a global agreement that has to be undone. Because we've had, you know, we've had a lot of of African Americans crucified, so to speak, in this country.
Yeah.
A lot of them. And but this one, the whole world was watching.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
believe that was a soul who volunteered to demonstrate that.
And keep in mind that, of the, this, like I said, Mom, the synchronicity of COVID-19 in the whole thing too.
Exactly.
But,
Yes.
Floyd, what happened with George Floyd, and was horrendous. But there was as far as just looking at it, from a human perspective, but there was a greater thing that was at work than what my feeble mind and senses could take in.
Well, yeah, we had to go inside and reflect after that happened and what
Right.
it caused all over the world. Then the universe sent us inside to reflect.
So there was a greater thing at work, which if I just wanted to just kind of focus on that one individual event in time and space, but not looking at the whole, the larger picture and stuff like that, then I would still be caught up in dissonance as far as, being angry and things like that. But yes, there was a greater thing, a greater, there was something greater that was actually in the process of being demonstrated, and it's still in the process of being demonstrated. And COVID-19, again, has something to do with it. And so I keep bringing up COVID-19 in this respect, because, everybody just looks at it, many people, not saying a whole lot of course people, many people as far as society look at this as, something that's very frightening. But again, there's a greater thing that's at work, and COVID-19 was a part of it. So if what we're seeing being demonstrated, if what we're seeing that's being demonstrated is an increased awareness, and people, regardless of whether someone falls within their realm of association, like they don't associate, with this person personally, they can still feel it as far as an experience the compassion and empathy, and get outraged as if it was like somebody that was in their somebody that they were associated with, like as if it were a bowling buddy, as if it were a poker buddy, as if it were a cousin or a brother or whatever. That's just an outrage. I think we're on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're on the right track. And, from that respect, what I'm saying, if COVID-19 was a part of that,
yes, it was.
Then how can COVID-19 be bad?
I never said it was bad.
I'm just saying that for people that say it's bad. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that for people that say it's bad.
You know the conversations we've had. So yeah, I've never said it was bad.
Let me say this. I don't want to sound insensitive. Like, I know that there are many of us who have lost loved ones. As far as physically to COVID-19. So I'm not saying this, to somehow discount that fact. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. But there is a greater thing. There's something greater that is being demonstrated here.
What if those who died volunteered? Remember, we all have soul contracts. We make these contracts for when we're coming in, when we're going out, how, the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
We don't just show up here and we la 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 la, and whatever happens. No, that's why I keep saying our lives are purposeful and have meaning.
Right.
And those people who volunteered to be the ones to die during this thing that we're experiencing, they made the choice. I know that sounds rough to some, but all the studies I've done have shown me that we are not victims. We are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience on a human plane in a body.
Well, thank you, Mom. The point I was trying to make is that God is good all the time. Even when we don't realize it, even when it doesn't seem that way, even when our lying eyes and ears tell us something differently. The bottom line is God is good all the time. And when we
Technically,
experience,
that's what I was saying.
when we experience a dissonance, however, is when we don't perceptually see it that way. You know, that's when we experience a dissonance. God is always good all the time. You know, but at the same time, when it doesn't seem that way, that's when we need to start looking at our alignment. We need to start looking at things, doing a self-check, you know? And so that's the point I was trying to make with that. But
real quick, Stephen, of course,
yeah.
I think I said this in this group before, but like there's a few statements in there that anchor me in everything we just said. And it says in the course that no one is where he is by accident.
Hello.
And chance plays no part in God's plan.
Hello.
And it also says, your passage through time and space is not at random.
Hello.
You cannot but be in the right place at the right
time.
Absolutely.
That's what the course says.
And Bill, read that when you get finished. Read that other part that you read several times, as far as like, you know, everything, all things are gently planned. Yeah, read that.
Because what could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, were gently planned by one, capital O, one whose only purpose is your good.
Absolutely. Yep. Amen.
Now, in the course, there's a part in chapter 22 where it says this course will be believed totally or not at all, because it's either totally true or totally false.
Exactly.
It can't be partially believed. Now, if you're a course student and you're reading this and you take those few things, you rarely believe them and just sit with them for a while. I mean, for me, it changed everything I ever believed about the nature of what's real and true.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Yeah.
It changed my life.
Yeah. That's why the course says we're living in an illusion, because this is the truth. And I used to always think it's a random universe and chance and accidents and that's the God and all this stuff. No, it's all perfect. Everything happens in a perfect plan. And, you know, I say this and talk about it now, and I still see the old way of thinking and perceiving come back to me during the day. That's why I like to repeat it and say it to that's why I like to anchor in a few easy to remember parts of the course. Because this mind has been so conditioned to think a different way for decades that it just kind of, when I'm not paying attention, it just picks right up where it left off for a little bit. But it's not like it was. Like I see it pretty clearly now, you know.
Yep.
And we're supposed to continue we're supposed to continue to see see the other way of seeing. And I want to say this, you know, I'm glad you brought that up. Jesus, all the way up until when all the way up until the crucifixion, Jesus still had double vision, guys.
Yep, he did.
He still was able to see the error. He wouldn't have been the teacher that he was if he couldn't see the error, because he had to be a bridge from the error to truth.
Yeah, well, that's what we're supposed to do too, Stephen.
You have to be able to see the error. You know, so you know, we're still, no matter how much we grow in A Course in Miracles, we're still going to see the error, but we're also going to see truth. You know, so I want you all to understand that just because you see the error, that doesn't mean you know you're supposed to see the error while you're alive, while you're in these bodies. You know,
well, I can't see the truth if I don't first see the error. I wouldn't even be able to talk about the truth if I wasn't also seeing the error. So I think it's impossible not to see the error. You got to see both of them.
Yeah. Well,
And how could you possibly help your brothers and sisters if you didn't know how they were seeing?
Exactly. Exactly.
That's how Jesus was. That's how Jesus was a bridge. You know, he
Exactly.
wouldn't have been a very effective teacher if, like you said, he didn't go through some of the same things that the other people in first century Palestine were going through.
Yeah.
And he would have been a very effective teacher if he was, just completely oblivious to the human condition in first century Palestine. So
Right.
that's just, you know. So anyway, go ahead and let's go ahead and jump on paragraph 8.
May I say something?
Yeah.
So the way I read this paragraph was, I think, same but a little bit different. It looked to me somewhat different. I think it could be because I wasn't brought up in a Christian community, and so whenever I see God's Son or Christ or not, it goes into my heart, and it speaks of me. It speaks of me. And about 12 days ago, I started this practice with some of my friends separately, but we kind of keep accountability. That we sit for 5 minutes as Awaken Christ. It's from the Way of Mastery book. And then we do some prayers and stuff. And at the end of it, we face the sun with open arms, standing, and we say things like, death is here, and I'm here for rebirth, and things along the line that I accept God's will for me, and God's will for me is to be happy and to use this time to extend my gifts, my treasures. And the first time I did that, I'm not very good with the history of all this stuff that had happened to Jesus. But the first time I did this, I just broke down into tears, saying, because it came to me as I was having the instruction is to have your hands open, standing. I felt like I'm putting myself on a cross. And the first time I did it, I broke into tears saying, how could his own friends do that to him? Like, that was my first thing. Like, how could his own friends do that to him? And of course, there could be reasons or whatnot, but I don't have the details. And I sat down, and as I was crying, I said, how can I do that to myself? Because again, every time I see Christ, or every time I see Son of God or God or whatever, I go inside. And I said, how often I do that continually during the day to myself? Like how many times in a day I'm crucifying myself by being angry, by being upset, by feeling hurt, by feeling, like I've been cheated, or I've been treated wrong or whatnot. How many times I have put myself on that cross.
Absolutely.
Crucified myself. So as we read this paragraph, that's how I saw it, that I won't find absolute peace until I remove the last nails from my own hand as God's son or daughter or kid. And it won't until I take the last thorn out of my own forehead. So, and I took it more in that sense. And when things happen outside of us in the world, I see those as examples. We need the shock. We need the big examples to kind of notice that these little tiny ones that actually sticks more and makes us kind of brutal to others. When we put ourselves on, like, so brutally, I put so brutally myself on that cross, and nail my hands and nail my feet and put the thorn over my own forehead. And until I don't take care of that, I would not be expecting any peace anywhere else.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
true.
You know something, Moj? It is a pandemic, Moj. It is a psychological pandemic. that 85% of the world is afflicted with unworthiness and self-esteem issues and crucifies themselves regularly.
That's true.
85% of 8 billion people crucify themselves every day.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And the other 15% are victim of whatever else. I mean, we all kind of victimize ourselves in one shape or form or another. It's not just we thinking less of ourselves. It's also like, why did that person lie to me? I'm going to show them. Or, you know, in traffic, or if somebody, you know, takes our money, or, you know, whatever, you know, the grievances that we hold.
Yep.
And all, you know, in all different shapes or form. And I think that's why book talks a lot about forgiveness. It's to kind of let go of those things, so we won't be crucifying ourselves, because as we are holding on to those things.
Absolutely. That's an even greater pandemic. That's separation consciousness. You just talked about separation consciousness right there. You know, and that's an even greater pandemic. You know, that's the birthplace of human apathy and all sorts of things. And wars are attributed to that and all sorts of things. And so how many deaths are associated to that? You know, so, you know, and violence and genocide and things like that, you know. So absolutely, these are pandemics that were here, that we've been experiencing. Everybody wants to say, oh, you know, this is our first time, you know, we've had a pandemic like this, a pandemic in 100 years. No, this is not the first. No. We've been going through this pandemic as far as these psychological pandemics of unworthiness and separation consciousness, all this while, you know, that affects way more than the 5 or 6 or 8% or 5 or 6% of the global population, as far as that's attributed to COVID-19, in comparison to the pandemics of separation consciousness, which affects about 99%, and unworthiness, which is 85%. COVID-19 is like a gnat buzzing around a cow that you pass by on the freeway doing 75 miles per hour.
That was good. I'm about to remember that one. I like that.
My head just exploded.
All right, so
we've gone there tonight, everybody. We've gone there. We really have. I like that. Let's continue to go there when we do this. Let's go there. If we're going, let's go all the way.
All right, so Zeba, you feel like doing paragraph 8?
Sure.
All right. Okay. Here we go.
Do we still have time?
Yeah, we got time.
Okay. You have nailed yourself to a cross and placed a crown of thorns upon your own head. Yet you cannot crucify God's Son, for the will of God cannot die. His Son has been redeemed from his own crucifixion, and you cannot assign to death whom God has given eternal life. The dream of crucifixion still lies heavy on your eyes. But what you see in dreams is not reality. While you perceive the sons of God as crucified, you are asleep. And as long as you believe that you can crucify him, you are only having nightmares. You who are beginning to wake are still aware of dreams and have not yet forgotten them. The forgetting of dreams and the awareness of Christ come with the awakening of others to share your redemption.
All right, Zeba. All right, that's a mouthful right there. So what do you get from
the fact that we're in the dream, and although we think of crucifixion, but in reality it's a dream. So it's not like it's not that bad.
Right.
In other words,
Yeah.
the reality is that we're just fine, and we're with God already, and so we're just having these nightmares, and as soon as we accept them as nightmare, we accept them as dreams, we can wake up. And
Absolutely. And you know something, Zeba, what we teach here in this Course in Miracle group, ACIM, North Houston and virtual study group, we teach practical ACIM. So just practically, for everybody here in this group, as well as anybody that's watching on YouTube or anybody that's going to be watching on Facebook, practically, if you really want to be practical about staying awake, then stop attributing sources of your upset to externalness, to external factors and people and stuff like that. So, if somebody says something to you, for example, that you didn't like, okay, all right, and you want to attribute, why are you upset? Well, I'm upset because this person said something I didn't like. Okay, that's a dream level event right there. Okay, that's straight in a dream. Okay, so if you want to focus on being awake, stop giving a reason to why you're feeling upset. Okay, so you're feeling upset because of something that's within you, and so start going to the source. If you want to start being awake, start going to the source. Why am I upset? Okay, stop attributing it to external factors and external things. And well, I'm upset because Trump said this. I'm upset because I don't like how whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No matter what it is, you want to start focusing practically on being awake. That's what we teach here. Practical ACIM. Stop attributing reasons to why you're being upset. I believe one time Bill talked about, he said, something is, as soon as you say I'm upset because, that's already in the dream right there. I'm upset because, that's already in a dream. And so, I was like, couldn't say it better than myself. But so you're upset because of something that's within you. Doesn't have anything to do with Trump. Doesn't have anything to do with that person, whoever said something to you that you didn't like or whatever. Didn't have anything to do with any external factor. So if you want to practically focus on being awake and living an awake life, stop attributing reasons for you getting upset on external things.
And I think, can I say something? So I think that, here when it says, you have nailed yourself to a cross and placed a crown of thorns upon your own head. So which for me means these are our thoughts in our head, so this is the crown that we have. And this is really what we had to watch. What are we thinking? What kind of thoughts we have about everything, as you were saying, so we usually had the tendency to try to find the explanations outside. And it's when we go into the dream, so when we go there, and for that time, we don't even remember that we're in a dream until something happened, and then we start like waking up, but yeah, so I think it's our mind is kind of symbolized with that crown of thorns, when we are not in the right mind.
Exactly. And and it's okay if you fall into the dream. I'm not sitting up here saying, that, or trying to sit up here and point the finger as far as, people that fall in the dream. It's okay. But this Course in Miracles group is focused on teaching us or giving us practical tools so that we can focus on awaking. okay? And understanding. That's the purpose of this Course in Miracle group. I mean, other than the therapy that we receive each week, but it's also to give us practical tools as well. So just understand, as soon as you attribute you're being upset about anything to anything outside of you, that's a dream level event or interpretation. You're thinking in the dream now. And that's why Moses said, humans are like the ones who forget. We forget. The reason why we forget is because we keep going to those dream interpretations all the time. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, we'll go to church maybe, and the pastor will say something that really just enlightens us. Oh, now I'm awake. I get it. And then something will happen, somebody cut us off on the freeway, and we get upset. I'm upset now because that person cut me off on the freeway, and next thing you know, we're right back in a dream again. Yeah. So, just practically, just being practical, guys, just practical, So next time you find yourself upset, because it happens. It happens every day. It's not about not being upset, but at the same time, identify the source, guys. Identify the source. Next time you find yourself upset about anything, before you begin to by habit, because we do it by habit, attributing it to something else, to an event that you just observed, and you're not happy, catch yourself. Try to catch yourself, and then focus on what is it that I need. What is it that I need to see? Okay.
There's a thing in the Course that says I'm upset because I see something that is not there.
Exactly. So, Mom is like, our lives are purposeful and have meaning. So if it's purposeful and have meaning, just remember that. And that the source of your upset, this is what I have to remind myself. Because let me tell you something. I get upset. And so just by habit, I'm beginning to, I still go into the dream. I'm not going to sit up here and try to pretend here that I don't go into the dream. But I catch myself more now, where I'm like, well, I know that's how I feel right now. I feel like it's this person who just cut me off on the freeway, but I know the source is within me. And so then I own it. And then I go within. And, when I meditate, I'll, just go in and meditate. Hey, that's the process. So let's try to practically use some of these tools, you guys. That's all I want to say.
I don't even need another person to get upset with. I can do it with a hammer or screwdriver, washing machine, front door. That's what I really had to say. Wait a minute, it must be me. This screwdriver, it can't even talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Eva, I want to say something.
Hey, Ziba, what you got?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something to what you said. It happens usually that even when we notice that it's not outside, everything is inside, whatever is happening is in me, then our ego starts to hurt us that way, instead of projecting to others. Now it's going to find fault with us, like, you did it again, and you are not going to learn this, and you're what kind of student of spirituality are you, or what is stuff like that.
Right.
And you think you have grown, but you haven't. Look what you did. So it's important to also notice that, and notice that that's part of the dream and it's not real, and do not listen to the interpretation. That it's okay. Whatever error I make, whatever mistake I make, is going to be fine.
Thank you.
No problem.
And I'll share something with you, Ziba, what Colin Tipping says. Radical forgiveness is based on Course in Miracles. And so when something like that happens, you say, wow, look what I created.
And you know what I like to say? I like to say, give yourself a pass. That's what I like to say all the time. give yourself a pass. It's okay, because we're gonna slip up. We're gonna forget. We're gonna, you know what I mean? I mean, like, again, go back to Mose, the one who forgets. Maybe one day you can read that again to us, Mose. But we're something. She was a word that she used, and it was called. It was described the one who forgets, and it was talking about humanity. And so every time we forget, just give yourself a pass. Just give yourself a pass. Just give yourself a pass. Just keep giving yourself a pass. The disciples asked Jesus, how many times should we forgive? Is it 7 times? 70 times 7. Yeah, 70 times 7. Yeah, exactly. So, just continue to give yourself a pass, no matter how many times it takes. Continue to give yourself a pass. And just, over time, just remind yourself that you're the source of your upset. Just remind yourself, but yeah, give yourself a pass. Oh, messed up again. Oh, okay. Well, just, give myself a pass. It's okay. So stop making a big deal out of stuff. Stop beating yourself up. We all need to stop beating ourselves up. Stop making a big deal out of stuff. So thank you for bringing that up, Zeba. I like to discuss practical stuff, because Course in Miracles gets so deep, and we could be talking about all kind of deep, metaphysical and stuff like that. But I like to put a practical twist on it. That's why I talk about freeways and all that, people cutting you off, and traffic and all these other different things, to put it in a practical light, a practical view. Don't get me wrong, I can sit there and talk metaphysics about Course in Miracles all day, but I like to teach through a practical lens, and so that's what I like to do.
Like gnats chasing a 75-mile-an-hour cow. That's pretty practical.
Right. Gnats, it's not gnats, the cow that you pass by, doing 75 miles an hour on the freeway. That's just how insignificant they are. Exactly. So, anyhow, who is next? Can somebody help me with that? Who was next to read, or who wants to read?
It's almost 7 p.m. I mean, it's your
9, Steven.
It's 9 already?
Yes, it is.
Oh, man. I was having some fun. I was having so much fun. Oh, man. This has been a good one, you guys. This has really been a good one. This has been fun. We just been bouncing stuff off of each other and things like that. This has really been fun. And everybody has had some beautiful contributions. Beautiful contributions. I am so honored to be a part of this group.
Me too.
same.
Yeah.
So
we did a lot of practical applications too.
I'm so glad I found you guys.
We're so glad.
We're glad you found us
too.
We are family. And I just love the dynamics that are created when we are all here. I just love it. So thank you. So who would like to pray us out today? Don't everybody speak up at once.
Reverend Sheila.
She does it all the time. She does it all the time.
She does it well.
She does.
She
does. But at the same time, I like to try to encourage growth. But I don't want to, I mean, if you're uncomfortable doing it, that's actually a growing opportunity. Just remember that. If you're uncomfortable doing it, that's a wonderful opportunity to grow. So just remember that. Okay?
I can do it.
You want to do it? Okay. All right, Claudia. Come on. Take us home.
Okay, let's take a deep breath and exhale. And we can breathe in the gratitude of today, of this meeting. We can feel this loving energy in our hearts that keep us together and bond us together. And we say again, thank you. Thank you to the Holy Spirit. Thank you for the Christ in each of you and me, for these moments of realization and growth, but overall of love. We affirm all of this in the name and nature of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well,
Thank you, Claudia.
Thank
it is.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Claudia.
Sheila.
Thank you, Zeba, and Moj, and Mark, and Bill, and everybody. Who did I miss? Who did I miss? Anybody? A dad?
No.
No.
Krista.
Dave and Krista, they left.
She
Krista.
left. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
Mom. Thank you as always. I appreciate you, Mom, and
Thank
so
you.
I am so
Oh,
blessed to be a part of this group.
bye, Bill. Bye, Mark.
Thank you, everyone. Love
Bye,
you.
Claudia.
Bye,
Bye,
Moj. Bye,
Bye.
Sheila.
Hi, everybody. I love you.
I
Love you too.
too.
Well.